purchased on a passport today is going to go towards supporting Students for a Free Tibet. Please allow me to introduce Tenzin Minle, who is the Deputy Director, I knew that, from Students for a Free Tibet.
Woo! Hey everyone! This is insane. Is this the biggest Momo crawl yet? Yeah! I mean, I see people all the way towards the furthest tent. But hey everyone, like Minzin said, I'm Mile, I'm Min. I'm part of Students for a Free Tibet, which is the organization that you are all supporting today. Every single passport purchased fuels youth activism. It also fuels the Tibetan freedom movement. Everyone here today, you are part of a dream, but you're also part of a legacy of young people that for the past 30 years or so have been working diligently, have been working tirelessly to advocate for Tibetan freedom, for the rights of Tibetans inside Tibet to speak for themselves and to advocate for their rights. So for, generations now, the Chinese government has attempted to eradicate the Tibetan identity. And they've done that through trying to destroy over 70% of our monasteries, killing millions of our people, making man-made famines, and they continue to fail. They continue to see generation after generation of Tibet activists and Tibetan people, both inside and outside of Tibet, continue to resist, continue to rise, continue to protest, continue to drop banners above their ridiculous leaders' heads, and continue to educate the world about what's happening inside Tibet. And so China is flabbergasted. Why can we not squash Tibetan resistance? Why do these pesky Tibetans continue to rise? And it's because the Tibetan spirit is so resilient. So now China's realized, what do we need to do? We need to attack Tibetans at their source. We need to attack Tibetan children. So in the past few years alone, China has built a vast system of colonial boarding schools where they're taking children, Tibetan children as young as 4 years old, away from their homes, away from their families, away from their culture, and into these prison-like boarding schools where they're forced to read, write, and eventually even dream in Mandarin. And so what we're also seeing is video footage leaking from inside Tibet where there's also widespread physical abuse. We have Chinese teachers physically abusing Tibetan children. And in exile, we do our best, right? We try and preserve Tibetan culture, we try and preserve Tibetan language, but there's only about 200,000 of us in exile. There's millions of us inside Tibet. Almost 9 million Tibetans are inside Tibet. Tibetan culture, the heart of Tibetan existence, is inside Tibet. And so when the Chinese government is shipping over 80% of Tibet's school children into these boarding schools, that's terrifying. This is quite literally, possibly, China's most sinister and effective way to eradicate Tibet. And so what are we doing about it? Of course, we're speaking at the UN level, we're trying to get governments to take action, but ultimately we need your voices, and we need the West. We need everyone to care. We need people to be loud about their support for Tibet. And if the eradication of a culture, the eradication of a people is not enough to move you to action, did you know that the world, half of the entire world's population, relies on water that originates from Tibet for food security, for survival? And so what's happening right now is that China is building dams. We're talking about the fact that China has built more dams inside Tibet and across China than the rest of the world's dams combined. That means there are more dams inside Tibet and across China than the rest of the world's dams combined. Why are they doing this? Because water is sacred. Water is quite literally one of the most expensive currencies in this world. Tibet's waters, the data that Tibet's waters provide, is essential to predicting entire farming seasons, essential to predicting monsoon seasons. And as you can imagine, as the geopolitical situation across Asia and across the world continues to intensify, China having control of one of the most essential sources of water is terrifying. And that's also a reason that we should all care and we should all be looking at Tibet. A lot of well-meaning but grossly uninformed climate activists continue to talk about how China is a climate leader, how China has made all these grand promises about carbon neutrality. But what they fail to realize is that when these officials in Beijing are making decisions for Tibetans inside Tibet, they are completely disregarding frontline activists that are doing the actual work. Tibetan nomads, Tibetan people have been shepherding and protecting Tibet's environment for the world for over a millennia. They know what they're doing. These big shots in Beijing do not. And so what we're asking too is, if you claim to be a climate activist but you've never heard of Tibet, I'm sorry, you are not a climate activist. If you claim to be a climate activist but you don't know who Anya Singda is, a climate activist that is currently rotting in jail for simply asking that his town not have corrupt Chinese leaders in positions of power, then are you really a climate activist? And so what we're asking today is, thank you everyone for being here, because just being here, just listening, is a huge step in fighting for Tibet. In educating ourselves and equipping ourselves with the truth is a huge step forward for Tibet. And a lot of folks will ask, all right, but what can I do? Like, I'm just one person. Or, oh, but I'm from New York. Like, this is happening in Tibet. This is happening in Asia. The thing is, there's so much to do. Actually, the other day I was like writing a list of things, and I'm just gonna rant them off, and maybe one of them will speak to your truth. You can literally sign up for our emails and just start getting informed. Start learning one new fact about Tibet every month, every week, right? You can join an SFT chapter, start an SFT chapter. You can donate to people that are doing the work. You can start a birthday fundraiser, right? That way you can educate a bunch of your loved ones and raise money for Tibet. There's so much to be done. You can, follow us on Instagram, because one way that we can continue to build power is by spreading information and dispelling propaganda. So thank you all so much for your time here today. Thank you for being here, and thank you for saying that Tibet matters. Thank you for saying that events like this, as fun as they are, as amazing as they are, at their core, what are they? They're an example of resistance. They're an example of a people in New York City that have gathered from all over the world saying that we see Tibet and we care. So thank you all so much. Hopefully we'll see you in the streets. Free Tibet! Free Tibet! Free Tibet! China out of Tibet now! China out of Tibet now! Ooh, and we have really great merch. Merch is also a great way to donate to the cause. Ooh, Thunder, can you do a little... Ooh, we have some really nice logo shirts. Woo! Our booth is all the way back there. I'm sure some of y'all saw it. There's also cool ways to get involved at the booth. Shout out to everyone that's already bought a shirt. Have a wonderful day and see you soon, hopefully. Bye.